By any measure, a violin is a thing of beauty, an object of extravagant curves and glowing veneer. Fragile and delicate in the hands, yet powerful enough to fill a hall with soaring sound. A story of a violin is unlike any other, but it must start from the beginning. And this beginning starts in the workshop, the garden city of Christchurch, New Zealand. This is the story of a luthier, Kay Itchcombe.
I've been a do-it-yourselfer for 70 years, 65 at least, and yes, I enjoy making things with my hands. At the moment, I'm a violin making, cello making, violin making, and I started some 20 years ago when I made a model violin for my granddaughter. This is the first violin I made. I made it for my granddaughter. She was 3 then, and now she's 24. So anyhow, my daughter, who had a $4,000 viola, played this tiny little thing and says, "Make me a violin, Dad." And I thought, who, me? Well, I made her a violin and she took it to orchestra. She brought it back and she said, "Dad, it's the best sounding one in the orchestra." And I thought, wow. So I made a cello next, and that turned out fantastic. And I used my engineering experience to get past the fibs, is the best word for it, that they perpetuate in the violin making world, and so I got the sound, and rather than the perfection. This one's a better one to dismantle. Yeah, very dusty. It hasn't been used in about 20 years, but yeah, row the boat beautifully. And they're very realistic. They're quite lazy at times. There's nothing mechanical about them. That way. But well, this sort of led me into a violin, which led me into cellos, and from electric cars to cellos, and the wife's mobility scooter is supposed to do 12 k's, but it does 15 now. Well, being an engineer and being able to make my own tools was a huge advantage. Purpling, you're supposed to use special knives and chisels in there, so I made a little router out of an old model car motor. Now this is my purpling tool. Normally you have to cut 2 grooves and chisel it out. It's about 5 hours work, and this drops it down to about half an hour, and absolutely super accurate. Just a dentist's drill and a model car motor and a rubber band, and it's adjustable. The purpling is 3 layers of wood, a black, a white and a black. The colours are there just so you know it's there, and it's inserted in the groove and glued in place, and it acts as a hinge for the top and stops the top and the back breaking away from the instrument. Certain chisels were terribly expensive, so I bought some tensile steel, made my own chisels, and they're exactly what I want. And the attitude is, if I haven't got it, I'll make it. I needed wood, so like the little red hen, I went out to Mount Hutt and I found a sycamore tree in a grove of elms and oaks which had really tall because he was behind the rest of them, and it was 40 feet to the first branch and huge, and a four-wheel drive and a car trailer, and I got about 2.5 tons of wood back, and I cut it all up. I had to make my own circular saw and, well, my own sawmill and cut it all up, and I've still got quite a lot of it still here. I found that the sycamore that I've got there is actually superior to the European maple, but I won't let them know too much about that. One of the important things with cutting the wood is that the grain must, the growth rings must go across here. That's the centre of the tree, and this is the outside of the tree. So this tree would have been good 200 years old, and there's probably about 200 growth rings there at least, and that enables the wood to shrink and expand as it vibrates on the instrument. If the growth rings are this way, the wood would be very stable and would not allow itself to vibrate, and actually eventually the top and the back will fall off the cello trying to vibrate properly. So it's very important that the growth rings go crossways. Now you can see all the growth rings there, and very pretty for a start, and you've got hard pieces and soft pieces, and it's like your hand, it enables the wood to shrink like this and bounce and vibrate, and that will give you a nice ringing sound, and there's no stress in the wood. And this is the science that was developed over 300 years and nobody knew about. The small hole takes the movement and air from this side, the big hole takes it from there. This part here acts as a Fresnel lens, a sonic lens, and it projects sound to different distances and different sounds in different places. So people think the whole room is filled with music, but they're only hearing different sounds at different places. This little nick in here is specially rounded, and it acts as a barrier between that end and that end. So there's the scientific part that nobody seems to mention. Now I have to be very careful how I cut it. This is where accuracy is very important. Humanity's oldest tools, it's a piece of glass. It makes it a very fine, very precise cut. Now I'm also going to twist this a little bit as I cut it, and that helps to make it more accurate. And after about 20 years, it gets quite easy. You can use a file sometimes to take some of the lumps off. I think that in 200 years' time, somebody will look at one of my violins or cellos and say, "Who is K. Edgecombe?" And I shall live again. Gotta go, must fly.